Hey, what's up everyone? This is K Collections, and in this video, I'll briefly break down the best servants for new and free-to-play players. Now, that's a clear indication that this video is not meant for experienced players. So if you are one, you'll know most of these information, so honestly, you can skip this. But if you love hearing my voice, or you just want to kill some time, then hey, welcome! So it's quite obvious from the thumbnail and image that these are the servants I'm going to talk about. There are no surprises. All servants can be summoned through the friend points banner, which means they're free. Now I chose one servant within each class that I personally think are the best for beginners, but that doesn't mean these are the only ones. For example, Medusa is an amazing servant, without a doubt. However, I chose Anderson because I personally think a new player can benefit more. So the way I'm going to break this down is, I'm going to talk about the main strengths of these servants and why they're so good. This isn't a spotlight. I'm not going to break down the hit counts, attack cards, stats, or anything. If you want to take a look at those, I'll put a website in the description for you. So let's get started. The first servant, which is the extra class, is the one and only Mash. It's sad because I feel oftentimes players forget how amazing she is, and she's only going to get better. First off, she's a shielder class, which means Mash has no class weaknesses, even against berserkers. Of course, this does mean she won't have effectiveness against enemies. Nonetheless, the trade-off is worth it because she won't be your main attacker anyways. Now, what makes Mash one of the best are her supportive skills, which helps your team with survivability. First skill basically increases defense for 3 turns. That in itself is highly effective in helping your team live longer. Her second skill is one of my personal favorites, which grants an ally invincibility for 1 turn. Now, this will protect a servant from dying, especially against an enemy's Noble Phantasm attack. On top of that, this skill charges their NP gauge, which allows for quicker use of their NP attack. Her last skill, again, helps with survivability for your team by drawing all enemy attacks to herself. This can protect dying servants or draw a single target NP to her. You can also use this in combination with her invincibility skill to protect herself from damage. The increase in NP gain can also help Mash use her Noble Phantasm a bit sooner. Lastly, her NP helps reduce damage for 3 turns. Mash is an amazing servant and will help all players in general. Remember, she's only going to get better. And I do want to mention that Mash fits with almost all types of team, but is better within arts teams. Now the next servant is Julius Caesar from the Saber class. What makes him so good are his offensive support. All 3 of his skills enhances your servant's damage output. It's very simple but highly effective. First skill, boosts your team's NP strength. Ideally use this when you have more than 1 servant with a fully charged damage dealing NP. This way you fully leverage the skill. His charisma skill basically increases your team's attack. Again, I suggest using this when you're about to use your Noble Phantasms. You can also combine this with his first skill for more damage, and that's why he's so good. His attack buffs can be used in combination with one another. His third skill basically enhances a chosen servant's crit strength at the cost of their defense being reduced. Use this on a servant with high star absorption or some sort of crit damage enhancement like riders and archers. His Noble Phantasm is single target, which means it's great for killing Lancer bosses, but he also generates stars depending on the overcharge level, which again has great synergy with his third skill. Caesar also works well with crit teams, but can fit with anyone because of his attack buffs. Moving on to Robin Hood of the Archer class. Simply put, his Noble Phantasm is insane. His main purpose is using the NP on bosses or high HP enemies because it deals a lot of damage, especially to sabers. What makes his NP so effective is because it deals more damage to poison enemies, which you can easily inflict by using his sabotage skill. On top of that, all enemies will get hit with 2 poisons. One from his skill, the other from his NP, meaning each turn they will lose 1000 HP for 5 turns. He's actually one of the best archers, especially for a 3-star, and a great damage dealer in the game because of this Noble Phantasm. That was pretty quick. Now moving on to the next servant is the original Coup, which is a Lancer servant and a 5-star in disguise. Seriously, this guy is amazing because of his insanely high survivability. Protection from arrows is a godly skill. Basically, Coup can't be hurt until he gets attacked 3 times, meaning if your opponents never target him, the evasion skill will still be in effect and will not expire. So basically, he's safe from 3 hits, but what's amazing is that the skill has a relatively low cooldown when you max the skill out, which I do recommend. So let's say his 3 hits are up, then you'll just activate the skill again when it's recharged. It also gives you a defense boost just in case. Now, if that fails, Coup also has a gut skill which revives him should he die. This serves as a great backup in case enemies target him a lot. Lastly, he has a healing skill that will remove all debuffs such as attack or defense down. So first you have an evasion skill that won't expire until he gets hit 3 times. If that should happen, there's a defense buff. If he takes any damage during the process, you can heal. Should all else fail, he will have a gut skill to revive him. Overall, he's a complete beast, but don't get too cocky with him because he isn't immortal. Now, on top of his survivability, he's one of 2 servants with the highest attack stat among the 3-star Lancers. His famous Noble Phantasm is great for killing archers. Don't over-rely on the instant death. If it happens, then that's great. The best way to use Coup is to save him as the final servant as a survival backup. Or start with him to clear the first 2 waves and weaken the boss before using another servant to finish the job. Or you could just solo with him because lots of players do that. Either way works. For the Rider class, Medusa is great, although I have to admit I'm being a bit biased with this because she's one of my favorite servants. Originally, she wouldn't have been recommended, but after her strengthening quest, she's a lot better now. So what makes her a good servant? It's the synergy of her skills leading into her Noble Phantasm. Her NP is very simple. It's an AoE that deals damage while increasing your team's star generation. This is very helpful, especially in quick teams whom can generate stars effectively. The combination with some of her other skills is what makes her Noble Phantasm better. First off, her passive skill Riding A+, gives a good boost to her quick cards. Including her Noble Phantasm, she has a total of 3. Aside from that, Medusa has an attack buffing skill that will boost her attack by 30% when maxed out, which is quite high. This means her Noble Phantasm will deal more damage, not to mention it has a relatively decent cooldown. What makes Medusa so much better is after her strengthening quest, her 3rd skill charges her NP gauge by 20% while increasing NP gain for 3 turns. Originally, she wasn't that great in generating NP on her own, but with the help of this skill, that's a whole lot better. So this can help you charge your NP a bit faster, and if by chance you have a kaleidoscope, I'm just saying, even beginners can get lucky sometimes. Then you can turn 1 NP with Medusa. She also has a stun skill, which can never go wrong with that, until it misses, of course. Moving on to Anderson, which is a caster and one of the best servants for new players. Basically, he's a budget waiver. What makes him amazing are his diverse supportive capabilities. Anderson helps a lot in multiple areas of the game. Crits, attack, defense, even NP gain by performing Arts Chain. First, let's talk about his Noble Phantasm. This NP gives a chance to increase all allies' attack, defense, and post-interlude will potentially increase star generation. On top of that, a guaranteed HP recovery, all effects lasting 3 turns. Higher the level and overcharge means better the effect, as well as increasing the success rate of the buffs. Now, the Noble Phantasm itself is great, even if it is RNG. What makes Anderson absolutely amazing is his ability to spam his NP. First off, he has 3 arts attack, not including his NP. On top of that, he has high NP gain stat to help him a bit. And on top of that, if all else fails, he has rapid casting, which will increase his NP gauge significantly. Basically, with Anderson, you'll be able to continuously heal your team while potentially buffing them. Though Anderson works well with an arts team due to his attack cards, he's also very helpful within crit teams. Again, his MP can potentially increase star generation. Not only that, he has a skill to boost crit damage for all allies, and with his other skill, Anderson can generate specific amount of stars when necessary. This combined with his MP and overall his supportive capabilities is the reason why he's an amazing servant. Even experienced players like myself still use him. Next will be the assassin servant Cursed Arm Hassan. He's one of the best star generators in the game due to his high star rates. On top of that, he has presence concealment, which further increases drop rate. Plus, Hassan has a total of 4 quick attacks, which includes his Noble Phantasm. With this, he's able to perform more quick chains, which means more stars. Taking a look at his active skills, I'm going out of order, but I first want to talk about Protection from the Wind, cause it's an amazing freaking skill. Just like Coup's evasion skill, Hassan will dodge 3 attacks. Only difference is that instead of defense buff, it increases star generation, which again goes back to one of his strengths. Throw Dagger B is excellent when you need immediate stars for the turn. And lastly, his self-modification skill increases his own crit damage, which is great but can be situational at times depending on the amount of stars you have for the turn and how much he actually absorbs. Lastly, for his Noble Phantasm, it's very simple. It basically deals damage to your target with a high chance to instant kill them. However, don't rely on that when facing bosses, and besides, Hassan isn't meant to be your main damage dealer. His priority is generating stars, and he's a damn good one at that. Even veteran players will agree he's a great servant. Hassan is still one of my best units. Now, for the final servant, Liuba. His strength and primary role is to deal a shit ton of damage. Liuba has the highest attack among 3 stars and lower. Add his Berserker class, which is effective against most classes, you'll have a servant meant for killing. To start, he has 4 buster attacks including his NP. This way, you'll be able to bust a Brave Chain at times, but most importantly, you'll be able to start with a buster card frequently to give the first card bonus leading to more damage. On the topic of his buster deck, Madness Enhancement boosts the overall performance by 10%, which is quite high. So yes, Liuba excels in damage output, but his skills further enhance his strength even more. Breaking down his skill sets in order, his first skill increases his attack for 3 turns, which should be your main priority. The whole debuff resistance is more of a bonus. On top of that, his second skill will increase his defense for 3 turns, with the cost of attack buffs potentially not succeeding. Just use all buffs before activating the skill and you'll be fine. After his strengthening quest, you'll unlock his third skill, which increases both his NP damage and star absorption for the turn. The downside is that the other 2 allies will lose defense, which can hurt. Speaking of NP, his Noble Phantasm is a single target meant to deal massive amounts of damage. The stunning effect is a nice touch, but oftentimes it won't succeed. For me anyways, the absolutely best scenario is activating his first and third skill for more damage and performing a Buster Brave Chain starting with his NP and dealing massive crit damage afterwards if you have the necessary stars. This should kill your target, if not, it should severely weaken them. Overall, if you're free to play or just starting out, Liuba will be your main damage dealer until you get a stronger servant. So that was a very quick breakdown on why these servants are great, especially for new and free-to-play players who may not have a lot of gold servants. Just a reminder, all servants are free, meaning you won't have to spend a single Saint Quartz to get them. You could get them from the Friend Points banner, but keep in mind, getting 3 stars is relatively low. Still, there is always a chance, except for Mash of course, because you can't summon her. Clearly, you get her for free as your first servant ever. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more FGO videos. Follow me on Twitter for updates. If you like collecting figures, I post my collection on Instagram. Most importantly, which 3-star or lower servants helped you the most when starting out? For me, it was Liuba, Coup, and Sasaki Kojiro. Comment down below, I really want to know actually. Also, Shoe 10 is being released tomorrow. I did a more detailed breakdown on the servant, so feel free to check that out if you haven't. Best of luck if you're planning to pull on that banner. I will most likely live stream it. I haven't decided yet, but you know, just keep an eye out for that. As always, have an awesome day, everyone. Till next time.